Okay, get ready to dive into a world you probably never thought you'd be fascinated by. Penguin poop.
We're talking serious projectile pooping here.
Oh yeah, we're going deep on this one.
The paper we're looking at today has the, well, delightful title, Pressures Produced When Penguins Poo Calculations on Avian Defecation.
So yeah, pretty clear what we're talking about today.
All about the physics behind how these adorable little birds uh, relieve themselves.
And why scientists would even care about that.
Well, it's Antarctica.
Right.
Keeping clean is essential for survival down there.
Makes sense. I mean, it's freezing.
Yeah, soiled feathers, they lose their insulating properties.
Not good.
Could be deadly in those temperatures.
So these researchers, they noticed penguins were, let's say, launching their waste.
And not just dropping it.
Right, like with some serious force.
They wanted to figure out how.
So imagine you're hanging out in Antarctica surrounded by penguins.
And all of a sudden, one lifts its tail and...
Fires one off.
Exactly. And we're not talking about a little splatter here.
How far are we talking?
They measured these penguin poop projectiles traveling up to 40 centimeters.
40 centimeters? That's like, what, over a foot?
Yeah, and they're launching from about 20 centimeters above ground.
Okay, so there's some real physics going on there.
There is some serious pressure involved.
And how do you even measure that?
Well, they got very thorough.
Like what?
Measured everything, the distance the poop traveled, height of the launch position.
Really?
Everything.
Even the diameter of the, well,
Oh, right, of course.
you get the picture.
So they've got all these measurements, but how do you go from, well, poop distance to pressure?
That's where physics comes in.
Okay, hit me with it.
They use this formula called the Hagen-Poiseuille equation.
Try saying that 5 times fast.
Yeah, no kidding.
So what does it do?
It describes the flow of fluids through narrow tubes.
So they're basically thinking about,
The penguin's anatomy.
Yeah, exactly, like a pipe.
Exactly. And by plugging in their measurements, distance, height, diameter.
They can calculate the pressure.
And what did they find? How much pressure are we talking about here?
It's pretty astonishing. Penguins can generate pressures between 10 kPa for watery poop and 60 kPa for the thicker stuff.
kBA.
Kilopascals.
I knew that it's a measure of pressure, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
can you put that into perspective?
Sure, think about human blood pressure. Healthy reading is around 1,280 millimillimeters. These penguins. Their generating pressure is equal to 77 to 450 millimillig.
Wow, so much higher.
Way higher than what we humans can do.
That's some serious poop power.
It is.
But, okay, let's not just focus on the impressiveness of it all.
Right.
What's the science here? Why is understanding this pressure so important?
Well, it all comes down to the type of flow.
What do you mean?
The pressure penguins generate creates what's called laminar flow.
Roaches.
Basically a smooth, streamlined flow.
As opposed to?
Turbulent flow, think smooth river versus chaotic rapids.
Gotcha.
Laminar flow is more efficient, less energy needed for the same result.
And in Antarctica, efficiency is everything. Okay, that makes sense, but I gotta admit, I'm still stuck on the image of penguins, firing these poop projectiles.
It's a funny thought.
Right. Like, are they competing to see who can launch it farthest?
That's hilarious, like penguin poop launching at the Winter Olympics.
Now, that's an event I'd watch.
Haha, for sure.
But, okay, back to reality. This silly topic does raise some serious questions.
It does.
Like, if penguins are generating that much pressure,
yeah.
could there be health implications?
Oh, absolutely.
You think they could get, hemorrhoids?
Maybe. The research didn't really look into that, but it's possible.
Right.
I mean, it'd be interesting to know if they've evolved to handle it.
Like maybe super strong rectal muscles or something.
Or a special diet, who knows?
Just shows even the silliest topics can lead to some interesting science.
Yeah.
But before we get too lost in speculation, let's get back to the paper.
Sure.
The researchers had some theories about why penguins evolved this powerful pooping mechanism.
They did.
So what's the evolutionary advantage of being, well, a champion poop flinger?
Well, it comes back to survival in those harsh conditions.
Right. Staying clean.
Exactly. Soiled feathers, they lose their insulation, their waterproofing.
And that's bad news in Antarctica.
Definitely.
It's like their own built-in hygiene system.
Yeah, blasting that waste away.
Keeps the nest clean. Keeps them clean.
Less chance of messing up those precious feathers.
But it makes you wonder,
What's that?
do they, aim?
You mean where the poop goes?
Yeah. Is it random? Or are they choosing a target?
Interesting question.
Right.
The researchers observed that, at least for chinstrap and Adelie penguins,
The species in this study.
yeah, those ones, they actually stand up, turn their backs to the nest, and then let loose.
So there's some intention there.
Definitely not just passive elimination.
Right.
But whether they're, like, picking a direction, aiming for maximum distance, that needs more research.
Imagine penguins strategically using the wind to launch their poop.
That's a funny image.
Talk about skills.
But, it's possible.
Yeah.
Wind speed, direction, that could all play a role.
Okay, now I'm picturing a penguin scientist with a windsock and a measuring tape, charting poop trajectories.
Haha, that's great.
But seriously, it shows how complex animal behavior can be.
Yeah, and studying it in the wild is tough.
Speaking of tough, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how they measured the pressure.
Yeah, it's not like you can just stick a gauge on there.
Exactly.
It took some creativity.
So how'd they do it?
Combination of observation and math.
Okay.
Measuring the distance, the height, the diameter.
Right, all those careful measurements.
Then using fluid dynamics to figure out the pressure needed for that kind of launch.
So working backwards from the evidence.
Basically.
And they got those impressive numbers.
10 to 60 kPa, yeah.
Imagine the force.
A lot packed into a small creature.
Maybe those penguin poop launching Olympics aren't so far-fetched.
Haha, maybe not.
But, okay, besides the humor, is there any real-world application to this knowledge?
Actually, yeah. Researchers are using satellite images to find penguin colonies.
What? Why?
By looking for their poop.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You can see penguin poop from space.
Giant guano patches, they're visible.
Wow.
So they're analyzing these images, especially for remote areas.
That's amazing. Poop science taken to a whole new level.
It is, and it shows how this unexpected stuff can be really useful.
Right, like who knew penguin poop could be so important?
And this is just one example.
What else?
This could help design better fluid transport systems.
Interesting.
Or even understand how other animals, maybe even extinct ones, dealt with waste.
So penguin poop could unlock secrets about the past.
Exactly. It shows how interconnected everything is.
We started with poop, and now we're talking about, well, everything.
Physics, biology, ecology.
It's amazing how one thing can lead to so much.
It is, and it all started with someone observing something most people wouldn't even think twice about.
Right, those researchers, they saw an opportunity.
They didn't just dismiss it as a funny quirk.
They saw the science.
And they dug in.
That's dedication.
Absolutely, and it reminds us there's still so much we don't know.
Even about penguins, these seemingly familiar creatures.
They can still surprise us.
This whole deep dive has been full of surprises.
It has.
I thought it'd be just a funny topic.
But it's been so much more.
And speaking of more, there's one thing in this research that really got me thinking.
Oh. I'm curious. What is it?
Well, I mean, we've been talking about the mechanics of it all.
The pressure, the distance, the potential for,
Yeah, hemorrhoids and penguins.
Right. But there's a bigger picture here.
Oh. Okay, tell me more.
These researchers, they took penguin poop.
Not the most glamorous subject.
Not at all, but they turned it into serious science.
Right. They observed, they asked questions.
They applied physics, fluid dynamics.
And they learned some amazing stuff.
About animal behavior, adaptation.
Even using poop to track populations from space.
It's amazing what they got out of it.
It really shows the power of curiosity, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Sometimes the biggest discoveries come from the most unexpected places.
Like science isn't just about fancy labs and complicated equations.
It's about looking at the world, asking questions.
Even if the questions seem, well, silly.
Exactly, like penguin poop.
But it's not just about poop, is it? This deep dive, it's taken us all over the place.
It has. We started with poop, and now we're talking about physics, biology, ecology.
Even a bit of, proctology.
Huh? Right. It shows how connected everything really is.
Wait, who knew penguin poop could be relevant to designing better pipes?
Or to understanding extinct animals.
It's like every discovery, no matter how small, can have these ripple effects.
And change how we see the world.
And we have to give credit to these researchers. They didn't just laugh and move on.
They saw something interesting, even in poop.
But it takes a special kind of mind to do that.
To see the potential where others just see, well, waste.
It reminds us that there's so much more out there to learn.
Even about penguins, these creatures we think we know.
They can still surprise us.
And that's the beauty of science.
It's been a wild ride, this deep dive.
It has.
I thought it'd be just a funny episode.
But it turned into so much more.
And I think the biggest takeaway is never underestimate curiosity.
No matter what it's about, whether it's penguin poop or something else entirely.
If you're willing to ask questions, to explore,
you never know what you might find.
and hey, maybe someday we'll see those penguin poop launching Olympics.
Uh-huh. You never know.
But seriously, I hope this has inspired our listeners to see the world a little differently.
To embrace the weirdness, the unexpected.
And to never stop asking questions.
Because the most amazing discoveries, They often hide in the most unlikely places.
Well said. And on that note, it's time to wrap up this surprisingly insightful deep dive into penguin poop propulsion.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those minds curious.
You never know what you'll discover, Her.